Hey everyone, just wanted to make a quick correction to the video you're about to watch. In the video I talk about the relationship between Duratrax and Luis a fair amount, and I have since learned what the actual relationship between those companies is. I had speculated that Duratrax went out of business and Luis picked up the manufacturing rights for them. In reality, Luis has always made Duratrax tires, and Duratrax was just the US wholesaler for those. But when Horizon acquired Duratrax, they already had Proline, and assumingly they probably didn't want the two brands to compete with one another, and they only needed to have one brand to release tires under, so they have gotten rid of the Duratrax brand, and so Luis is just now selling the same tires that they've always sold, just with the Duratrax, or just with the Luis name instead of the Duratrax name. So just wanted to make sure that I had the correct information out there. Thanks, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Join me as we take a step back in time and we take a look at the Duratrax scaler. Of course, the scaler is no longer available as the scaler, although I do believe that Luis Tires has obtained this mold and are manufacturing the same tire under a different name. I don't remember what the name of it is off the top of my head, but rest assured that tire will be tested at some point on this channel too. But today we look at the scaler. Despite being discontinued, the scaler is actually still relatively obtainable. You can usually find them on eBay. So not necessarily every day, but if you're searching for them, search for it every couple days for a few weeks and you'll see them pop up. They're usually used, but this set that I'm testing right now, I bought these technically used on eBay, but they'd never been run. They just weren't in the package anymore. So, and that is, I've seen them since I bought these, and I had seen them since before I bought these. I had seen them pop up. So they seem to be still something you can find if you really want the Duratrax scaler. But of course they are not made anymore. Inside the scalers we are running Three Brothers 3D printed inserts, dual stage 3D inserts, and with those installed, the scalers are not having any issues on the side hill at all. Not seeing much side slip, not seeing any issues repositioning, and of course the sidewall's holding up well with those 3D inserts. Pretty much allows the scaler to traverse the side hill and reposition as it needs. To reposition up top here. Oh. Always hate rolling off the top of that. Ooh, damn. I need to limit the reverse on this since I put that 2300 kV motor in. Anyway, I always hate falling off the top of this obstacle, but it is the dangerous place to reposition because it's the steepest part. And when I hit it, when you're repositioning on a side hill to try to go up, that's one thing. But when you're trying to come back down, the front of the vehicle is already heavier anyway, and that happens a lot. I shouldn't really be doing that. That's not necessarily, I mean, I guess if you had a tire that was really sticky and good, maybe it would prevent that, but that's a limitation of the truck more than is of the tire. And as we make our way to our second temporary obstacle, you'll notice that the lake is still very high. Again, if you haven't been watching, those should not be underwater. Our normal obstacle is somewhere between these two trees, kind of in the center there, underwater. And so we have, I need to watch what I'm doing. I'm driving like right into the side of a rock. We have found kind of a temporary obstacle just to get us past this point, but yeah, conditions are still high with the water. The ground is finally drying out more though, so that'll be more enjoyable for me to be able to walk around on. Hopefully have a couple places that it's easier to stand. And I was able to talk I flagged down a park ranger who was driving by, and I was able to talk to him, and he said that this lake, with the dam fully open, will drain about 8 inches a day, and the dam is only 3/4 open because that's the furthest they can open it without risking flooding downstream due to the amount of rain we've had. So it'll be about a week before the lake is back down to the level where they're going to shut the dam off, which is pretty crazy that they can leave a dam open for that long. And a lot of water in this lake. Oh, so here our goal is, let me dip the tires in the water because we're trying to test wet performance, as we normally do on our second obstacle that's called wet or dry. More often than not, we test it wet, and we have the ability to do that today, although it's a little difficult because I can only get the truck about 4 inches into the water before it drops off too steeply where it would be submerged. So, but we got the tires wet, so we're going to test wet performance on the incline. There we go. Scalar's finding a little bit of traction. Performance this morning from the boom racing aggressor on this obstacle was miserable. The Scalar's not exactly walking it while wet, but we found our line and we were able to do it. And we come up to obstacle number 3. Filming from a slightly different angle due to where I have to stand, but this is one of our normal obstacles. We need that driver's or the passenger side rear tire to hook the edge of that rock and push her up. There we go. And we need it to do it one more time. Gotta find its spot. There we go. Scalar's able to do that without too much issue. And now we exit on a side hill. Woo! That front tire collapsed quite. Something major has changed up here with the rain. I think we lost a rock, because there's a huge drop off there that didn't used to exist. But it looks to be manageable, so I don't think that we need to worry about fixing it. Yeah, we come around here. Hung up on the front axle housing. There we go. Whoop. Hung up again on something rear. Oh, wow. Rear axle's really caught. Sometimes these loose rocks like that can really get you. And we've got a lot today. This is only the second set of tires that I've tested since I've been out here. But I've driven it quite a bit more off camera, one of my other rigs, and I drove tire rack here a little bit. Just so I could get a feel for where the ground was at, because it was a little too wet yesterday, so I didn't run anything yesterday. And there's a lot of... Oops. Just drove right into the side of that. There's a lot of the loose rocks that have kind of broken loose from the rain and everything, and it's going to take some time for everything to resettle and calm back down. They're not necessarily a hindrance, it's just a little different. This obstacle gets increasingly harder almost every time we do it. This has kind of gone from not being an obstacle at all to actually being an obstacle. As the ground underneath it gets dug out, and it's actually become quite of a neat little challenge. It doesn't look like it's much on camera, but I brought one of my comp rigs out here earlier, and it struggled right there a little bit. So far, the scalers are doing really good. They're not really struggling with any of our obstacles. The lug on the scaler is pretty nondescript. It's kind of just like a, I would say your average, slightly aggressive all-terrain. That's the second time that's happened with that rock. And of course, Duratrax only coming in with the C3 compound. You kind of know what you're going to get with a compound if you've driven a Duratrax tire before. But between the other Duratrax tires that we've driven on camera so far have been, well, those were actually Louise tires. Have we driven an actual Duratrax? I don't think I drove the Deepwoods on camera. I think I just did the Louise tire. So we'll wait to comment about that until we do the actual Duratrax, just to make sure. I'm still not 100% sure that the Louise tires are the same tire. I mean, the mold is the same, but I don't think the compound is the same. Another obstacle, which has been getting more difficult. Again, the ground underneath these being a lot of times just dirt, it gets dug out, washed out. It's going to do that to that rock again. I need to find a different rock to put there, I guess, that doesn't move. Let me do that real quick. Alright, we're going to try this one. Finding a rock out here isn't hard, but finding the right rock kind of is, and I fear that this one might be a little bit too big and make this too easy. But as long as we can't just pull right up on it. Okay, this might work. So my line, I think, needs to be it's getting hot. Scaler's definitely struggling here. There's a lot of smooth edges of rocks here. All the edges are rounded off and not a lot for the lug to actually grab onto. And there in the base, you're dealing with a pretty steep transition of about 2 inches from the ground, which is dirt, to get up on the rock. And then we deal with another transition. Uh-oh. Right here. Front tire's not quite giving me the... There we go. Oh. Not quite giving me the steering I need. Okay. We learned with... Yeah, these aren't going to have the hook. Sometimes where that front passenger is, there's a kind of a crack in that rock, and sometimes if you got a good side lug, you can hook that and use that to pull it over. But the scaler has a little bit of a side lug, but it's not very deep. Well, I don't know about getting up here. It's one of those where I gotta do something with that reverse. I had a 1200 kV Fusion SE in here before, and then I put this 2300 Pro in. And honestly, for a crawler, I wish they would do. Well, I don't have a problem at all with the Fusion SE. If you want my opinion on the SE versus the Pro, get the SE. The Pro is not worth the extra money. I think I'm going to go back and put an 1800 Fusion in here. I'm just not a big wheel speed guy, I don't think. I wanted something a little... I actually liked the way that the 1200 Fusion worked, but I wanted something a little bit faster in here for the trail tests. So this rock that I've put here has actually made this more difficult. It won't move. There we go. Looks like there's a very, very specific line. That'll be good. Sometimes having a very specific line is a really good test of a tire. Can it get the one way that there is to get up there? Now, can we do this without rolling off? We get the suspension pretty upset here. I realize we're going off the edge, off camera. And success. All right, now we want to come down here nice and easy. We want those rear tires to hold on just enough to gently slide down. There we go. And sometimes we nosedive here coming off. Not too bad. This obstacle tests kind of the descent capabilities of a tire. This whole thing is one obstacle. This is the last part of it, and what we're doing now is testing front tire grip. Rear tire up off the ground. Rear passenger tire is off the ground for most of that portion of the obstacle. And the scaler is not having any issues there. So a question that you might be asking that would make sense to ask is, if the scalers are sometimes hard to find and not being made anymore, and Louise makes an equivalent of them, which they do, I just can't remember the name of it right now. I'll put it in the video or put it in the description or something. Why wouldn't I just buy those? Well, I can't answer that question right now because I haven't tested those tires. I have a set of them. I just haven't driven them yet. They're still in the package. But I have tested the Louise Champ and the Louise Rowdy, which is the equivalent of the Duratrax Showdown and the Duratrax Deepwoods. And in my experience, both those Louise tires are decent, but the Duratrax are better. I think, I've heard some people say that they're the exact same tire. I don't think they are. I think the compound is different. I think the mold is the same. I think that Louise bought the molds from Duratrax. Or probably more specifically, I'm pretty sure from Horizon. But I don't think that the compound is the same. So it'll be interesting to test these side by side with those and answer that question is, if you really like the look of this tire, is it worth trying to hold out and find a set of scalers versus the Louise equivalent? Scaler's not able to come on here slowly. Let's go with a little wheel speed and see if we can hook that corner or that edge. A little bit of slide back. A little bit of bounce. A lot of that coming from those 3D inserts. There we go. Ooh. Good thing I was able to hook that edge. These slid back quite a way. They're sliding a lot. This is a slick rock. It seems to, maybe it got slicker with the rain, because they didn't slide back like this on either of the other two inclines, which weren't quite this steep, but let me concentrate here. There we go. Now I just need to find, I'm sitting on the knuckle now, but with all that slide back, I don't want to go. Okay. I need the rear end to come over just a little. It's pushing up and it keeps setting me down on that knuckle. Oh, no, 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 no. Are they gonna have the forward drive to do this? There we go. That's what I needed, is just that rear end to come a little more in line with the front. Let's see if I can get off the top of this now. Top of this obstacle has been difficult for a while. Needs to be rebuilt, I think. And we come back down. We're testing precision and control. I need to get the passenger side front tire to hook right here on the very edge of that and hold. A little bit of slide. Didn't hold as good as I would have liked to have seen, but it held well enough to not fall off. And now we're going to do a test of the obstacle as much as we are the tire, because this obstacle has never been difficult, but the Boom Racing aggressors really struggled hard here this morning. They just suck. So what we're testing here is the first half of that obstacle. We have the passenger side of the truck shoved up against that rock, and we're kind of testing its ability to help drive the truck straight, because if the driver's side falls off the rocks with the gap there, with a class 2 size tire, you're not getting back on. And then right here where the front pumpkin is now and the rear is getting ready to drive over, we have a mechanical hang up built in, so we should hang pumpkin right there. And now we are testing the front tire's ability to pull the rear end off of a hang up. Neither rear tire has traction right now, and there we go. Beautifully done. Nice and shady over here. Hopefully that's not going to come out too dark on camera. Ooh. Let's approach that from a little bit different angle. The aggressor struggled hard here this morning and kind of tore up the entrance a little bit. I think I got it rebuilt right. Ooh. The scalers have some slide in them. They slip back a lot, especially when they start bouncing. And I don't believe that that's traction hop. I believe that that bounce is from the 3D inserts, which is one of the reasons why I prefer a Crawler Innovation Foam over a 3D insert, is because 3D inserts tend to cause more bounce. And they exasperate, I don't know. You ever know what the word is, but you can't say it? They make traction hop worse. You start traction hopping with a 3D insert, and it's just gonna multiply how bad it is. But if we can't get the rear up on here, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do it. And the problem is, yeah, we just slide backwards. And we slide sideways, and now we've fallen down into that gap. That's where I'm not sure. I can't remember if there's supposed to be something there or not. I don't think there is. Just bouncing, not getting any grip from the rear. There we go. There's a little bit. Now we're searching for it. Come on. No, 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 no. Oh. Found a little bit too much traction in the rear that time. Give him another shot. Scalar's not doing great on this obstacle, which is kind of surprising, honestly. I didn't think that they would struggle here. But we struggle to get on. And then once we're on, we struggle to stay on, between hopping and just not having the forward drive to push us up. If we do real slow wheel speed to avoid hopping, is there a line that it can find? But see, I don't think so, because I think then we're just combating slide back, and for every millimeter we move forward, we're slipping back more. We're going to give her one more shot, and then that's going to be it. Scalers are going to fail this obstacle if they can't get it this time. That was... I cannot remember if there's... I don't know if there's something wrong with the entrance on this obstacle or not. I don't think there is. I'm going to have to go back and look at some previous videos and see if I need to rebuild this. But Scalar is unable to get up on this obstacle at all. That's pretty disappointing. Alright, so up the bypass. No problems. Let's see how we do on the trails. Which the trails are my least favorite part of this course. That reverse, I swear. This entrance has been breaking more and more over time. I'm going to have to rethink that. Sorry guys, there's somebody that either 4 cars just drove by or somebody just made a bunch of circles. It's been kind of some weird stuff. Yesterday, somebody like came out here and dropped someone off. He just got out of the car and went and sat at a picnic table for like 20 minutes, and then they came back and picked him up. It was super weird. All right, let me concentrate here. I need to figure out what I want to do. All right, we took a rock out from the gate on this trail because it's getting to... There's just not a good way up here. There we go. Maybe that's gonna be now. I need something down in that hole. I don't want to make it too easy, but this is not even supposed to be the obstacle. That'll do. Alright. Scalers, testing loose dirt performance and surface transition. We got a weird lip on the edge of this rock. As you can see there, that's where we struggle. But if we avoid it, no issues. Lots of tires seem to struggle here with getting the rear end up on this rock where it's both slick and all the edges are kind of smoothed out. Most of the time the line is over here, but not that far. Not a ton of grip in the Scalar, I'll say that. And I'm not sure if that's lug or compound or poor insert choice. There's lots of bouncing. There's a slight possibility you'll see these again with a crawler innovation foam. There's a higher possibility that I'm going to just test them with a crawler innovation foam, and if there's a significant difference, then I'll do a video on it. I don't think Scalars are going to get up here. We're going to give them a chance with wheel speed. Yeah, that's the problem with wheel speed on this obstacle, is there's not a lot of... Nope, not going to do it. Walk of shame, scalers, walk of shame. Oop. Picking a tick off my ankle and apparently still driving. Alright, and our loose gravel hill climb. Try to do this with as minimal throttle as possible. Scaler's not having any issue here, although with the ground being wet, that actually helps on here, as the gravel's not nearly as loose. Ooh, makes it a little harder for me to walk up though. And we are out. So, final thoughts on the Scaler. They did okay, but I could already tell you they're not worth trying to hunt down and find. They didn't blow me away. They struggled in some areas where I don't think they should have struggled. I am going to attempt to run some CI foams in here, and I'll just see for myself if they're any better, and if there's a dramatic difference, I'll post another review of these, but I don't see that happening. I think we just lack some forward drive, and we lack some grip. Lots of slide back on inclines, and lots of bouncing. Now, there's a chance that some of that bouncing is due to the 3D insert in the tire, which is why I'm going to test with a foam. But I don't think that it exclusively is. I think these tires just aren't that fantastic. And, of course, we will put them up against the Louise equivalent in the future. So until then, everybody, have a good one.